Hello, Renika Williams. I say it like a news anchor, like I didn't just talk to you right now.
Hey, how you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. I always like to start everything off with some laughter, otherwise they were bored.
Oh, of course. We always gonna laugh now.
So I want to talk about you as this breakout star, right? Especially with your latest recurring role and some of the things you've done in the past. So before we get into that, I want to know your origin story. I want to know who Renika Williams is.
Oh my goodness, that is a question. Okay. Mm. Renika Williams is still the little 8-year-old girl who used to boss her friends around on the playground and write skits for them and say, do this, do that, but also cast herself as the lead. I don't know why I decided that no one else could be the lead in my little playground plays, but didn't trust anybody. I'm still that person. I love storytelling. I always will, whether it's on screen or on stage. I am a storyteller. It's what I love to do. I think it's a tradition of Black people specifically to share stories and make them even more entertaining as time goes on. And I come from a family of storytellers and it's in my blood.
Nice. What is it about storytelling that you love so much and that made you say, okay, I want to do this. I'm not going to write a book. I'm not doing that, but I'm going to actually go and pursue acting.
Oh my goodness. See, I've always been a huge TV fan. Like, I was never a kid that liked movies because movies were over after 2 hours. I like to be able to watch Moesha or watch Sister Sister
Yeah.
and see how their characters develop over time, you
Yeah.
know? And also, it was something that I aspired to do because I didn't always feel um, like I had the power to express myself. I have a brother who has this really big personality, and he would be like, "Come on, let's sing a song," and I'd be like, "No," like I would be scared. So even though I'm bossing my friends around on the playground, I was scared to actually up in front of people. You know what I'm saying? And so to me, storytelling was a way to come out of my shell. I was really shy until I was like 16. So I've used it as a way to express myself through characters. I like to lighten and lift words off of a page from other writers and tell their stories. And because I feel like storytelling is a way of fellowship that we connect with other people. And so that's why I fell in love with it.
Nice. And you one thing you said about how it helped you break out of your share, when you really listen to a lot of actors and actresses, their stories, a lot of them, like yourselves, are a little bit more introverted, not as like,
Mm-hmm.
jovial with things. Like I'm super energetic. I'm like this at 3 a.m. when I wake up to work out, right? I'm like, this is me. My husband gets mad all the time. He's like, please go to sleep. I'm in the Navy. I gotta go and sleep soon. But I wake up like this on any given Sunday. And I think it's just so amazing how you all can, take that part of yourself, ignore it, and become somebody completely different. Is that something you love, that you
Yeah.
would have become someone completely different, or someone you aspire to hate to be? Like, you play one of those roles where you're like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
hate this person, but I have to have empathy for them at the same time. And
Come
it's,
on.
ugh.
Right? Because I always say this, I don't put nothing past nobody. Anybody can cut up somewhere. You know what I'm saying? And
Uh-huh.
like, I like to find the flaw in somebody. And Willow specifically, I'll say on Sex Lives with College Girls, people always ask like, "Oh, was that you? Was that you in college? Like the turn up queen, the loud one?" I was like, absolutely
Absolutely not.
not. Like, I took ask my roommate, my college roommate. I didn't go nowhere. Like, literally, I took school so seriously.
Yeah.
I rarely went out. And so for me, it's a chance to let out the girl inside of me that I always wanted to be. I wanted to be the girl that could go out and still wake up at 8 a.m. and go to class and get it done. And so I like to tap into other parts of myself because I feel like I'm getting a second redo at college on
That's
Sex Lives.
crazy.
Like, I'm like, okay.
I love that. Even before I want to get into the experience of getting this role in Willow, how are you able to make it believable? You know, because acting is all about making me believe that that's why they're looking like, is that Renika? Is that? I think that's her. I think Renika's playing her, you know, which is a great testament to you, people asking you that question because you're just like, I did it, but no. So how are you able to tap into something of a character like that that was the opposite of you? Or even when you were in school, maybe that you were envious of, or even kind of judged like, oh, you ain't never gonna graduate.
If I'm honest, it's just really fun. I'm a people watcher.
Yeah.
And so I like to observe, like I like how she's walking, or I like how they're walking. Okay, how do athletes carry themselves, or you know what I'm saying? How do they sit? I like to start with the physical, and it means a lot to me when people notice that. Not everybody does, because I asked my mom. I was like, Mom, did you see anything different about Willow, like the way Willow moves? And she was like, No, no. But then my cousin, I had a cousin who was like, You even changed the way you walk. And I was like, thank you. Like, thank you. For me, it starts with the physical, and it starts with the curiosity.
Mhm.
I'm an observant person, and I'm curious about people and why they are who they are. It excites me.
Yeah.
It really does.
Nice. I love that. Now getting into this role and into this show, how was that? Because this is your first recurring one that's you know, in a sense, right?
I'm actually a series regular, believe it or not. We just have a really big cast. Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. So we have a really big cast. It's actually unnatural. But yes, we
Natural for the
do.
cast to be that
Yeah,
big.
yeah. For 30 minutes, it's like Jesus. But
It's like all these people here, it's like the cookout.
but yes, it is my first regular. Um, I skipped over recurring, which was crazy. Um, and it was a whirlwind. I mean, I got the job and they were like, Can you be in LA in 48 hours?
Oh wow.
And I was like, yeah, but can I go to CVS and get my COVID vaccine first? Because I'm scheduled tomorrow. They said, sure, that's fine. Um, no, it was so fast I didn't have time to freak out. If I'm honest, I think I would if I would have had the 3 or 4 months that other people had. I think I would have been losing my mind.
Yeah.
But it all worked out in the sense that I just jumped right in. I think the writing is really good, and I think it's funny, and it made me feel like I knew her. When I read it, I thought of a comedian. I'm not going to tell you who because that's my little secret. But I thought of a comedian when it came to her inflection. I'll tell you, fine, I'll tell you. I thought of Kevin Hart
Oh really?
and the on the during the audition side specifically, not in the rest of the show. Something about her, I was like, Kevin is funny in this way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I really like his cadence and his inflection sometimes. And I was like, how can I make a twist on that? So that's an ode to Kevin. Yeah.
Nice. I love that. You know, speaking of that, like being a trick you use in the audition, and when a lot of people, especially like yourselves who are young in this business, you know, making that choice, what was it that told you this is going to be a smart decision? You know, because you never know. You're in this room with these people who don't know you, who aren't betting for you or against you. They're just like, can you give me something? I don't even know what I'm looking for yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like,
Yeah.
how do
Yeah.
you how did you bet on yourself enough to say, I'm about to tweak this thing that, hey, I'm just gonna give it to God?
No, that's really what it. I'm so glad that you said that because I pray over every audition that I do, but
Yeah.
also I'm weird in the sense that like it'll be in my gut. Like I'll be like, okay, my stomach just dropped. I think I need to pray before I do this. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Because I do want to be intentional about the type of work I take, but I also was like, I need a job. It's because you really don't know what
Yeah.
you're walking into. You don't know if it'll be good or anything. But honestly, I saw Mindy Kaling's name and I was like, okay, we'll be fine.
I love that. You know, and speaking of, you said you want to be intentional, you want to get the job, but you're also spiritual. What happens if something doesn't line up with those three? You're kind of like Holy Trinity, right? What if like you want the job because you need to pay your bills, but the job just doesn't seem like it's that type of role for you, but your spirit's saying go for it. And then you want to be intentional with your career, but you like, oh, I do got some bills needed, so how do you, what's going to be like a factor where you say to yourself, no, I'm okay. It feels good. It seems okay, but some just isn't sitting right with me.
Yeah, if it compromises like who I am as a woman,
Mhm.
if it makes me feel like I'm going against every moral and every value, like I really can't do it. And that didn't start for me um, until I decided to be intentional about the roles that I take because it's out there forever. You know what I'm saying? And like, I'm not perfect and nobody's perfect. I never strive to be perfect, but as long as they're not asking me to do anything that I feel like is compromising myself and
Mhm.
my self worth, then I do give it to God and I do it. But there have been plenty of things I was like, they want me to do what? Oh, I'm not doing that. No, sorry. Like, no, we take after Chadwick Boseman over here with intentionality. That's what we're gonna do.
I love that. And I hear for so many veterans, newcomers, breakout stars like yourself, that intentionality. And it seems like there's this silver cord, but this cord between a lot of like Black Hollywood where it's about intention, and it's just so interesting to hear that from everybody, because I promise you, doing interviews like this, everyone always talks about intention. And you said
Yeah.
you've taken, you've auditioned or took roles, right? When did the intention switch flip on for you? Was it when you did a role that you were just like, man, well, it wasn't for me. It wasn't bad, but I could have done without it.
Yeah. There was a play and it was like a really short run too. Like it wasn't like a 2 month run or anything. It was like 2 weekends. And that was a play that I did maybe 4, 5 years ago at this point. And the playwright said that he was going to be open to rewrite because I felt a way about the play because it was supposed to be about Mike Brown and it's supposed to be about the trial um, after his killing. And the play was super one-sided. It was super right-sided. I'll
Yeah.
say that. And all of the Black people in the play we're playing real people, like, and they have real, like, the script was based on what really happened in the trial, but
Yeah.
they left out
Oh,
other parts of people saying like, no, he had his hands up. What are you talking about?
yeah.
And it was in that moment I said, all money ain't good money.
Yeah.
I don't believe in this. All of us stood together and we were like, we don't like this.
Yeah.
But also I've had some really great people in my life who have mentored me and they probably don't even know they've mentored me. I called Tiana Paris actually when this role was on the table for me. And I was really nervous because the title scared me. You know, I was like, it's called The Sex Lives of College Girls. And she was like, okay.
Yeah.
She was okay. So you need to write out what you will do and what you won't do. And I was like, oh, okay. And she was like, no, get specific. I said, hold up, how specific? So she talked me through it and she said, this will live on screen forever. And you have to be okay with it. Everybody's different. Some people are okay with showing something, some people are not. That's up to you. But you have to set the boundary for yourself and you have to be okay with walking away if you're not okay with it. And I wrote what I wrote, and they were like, "Girl, we would ask you to do none of that." I said, "Oh, we good.
I
Let's
love that. No, I think it's just a testament. This is a two-part thing I would like to touch on. One is because first you're a storyteller. You love to tell a story, and the premise of storytelling is to tell it from a social, cultural, and historical point of view, even if it's a fable, right? If you're going to tell a fiction story, a nonfiction story from Germany to Egypt, it has to have cultural relevancies. So I think it's beautiful that you take that and say, well, if I'm going to tell a story, especially if it's going to be historical, or even if it's cultural, like if I'm playing this Black girl that's in a show or something, there has to be something that still makes her the Black girl I know that is out there and not necessarily one that you only grew up with, which is okay, but I'm kind of like still on the
yeah,
fence,
yeah.
you know? Um, when it comes to that part of storytelling, what do you focus on the most that really drives your heart in picking a role or a script that you want or you're going to audition for?
I'm really drawn to the Black girls who don't always have a voice. I'm drawn to the Black characters who were not the most popular. You know what I'm saying? Or always got written on their report card that they're too loud, they talk too much. You know what I'm saying? Like whoever is the underdog, I'm all about the underdog. That draws me because that's how I feel growing up. And so I like to make sure that all hues and shades of the Black girl's voice is being pulled from, because it's not just one way to be a Black woman. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And it's more interesting when you include everybody. And I seek out those characters for sure.
Nice. I love that. Now, second part, being so young in this game, right? When I say young, I say when it starts. It doesn't matter how old someone is when they start, but when you look at from start to now, how
Yeah,
how were you so comfortable and confident in saying, I got here, but I'm letting you know these are gonna be my rules and my boundaries. Just you know what I mean?
mm,
Because it's such a tough industry you're in. I tell anybody you're in this industry where
yeah,
you know people are picking you and not picking you for God knows what reasons. But you said
yeah,
early, I don't care. Though I want to be successful, though I want to succeed, I'm gonna do it on my terms.
yeah. I think for me, I had to realize that this is not all of who I am. I think when you are an artist, we give our lives to it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's important to work hard and like to literally dedicate the time and the work. Yes. But I'm a person first. You
Mhm.
know what I'm saying? And I want to make sure that I'm respecting myself, that I feel good myself. I don't want to be a slave to nobody's industry. But honestly, it comes from God. It literally does. Like I'm still that little girl that was afraid to speak up for herself. But it's been coming out of me because I know I will be madder at myself if I don't if I don't have a boundary.
Yeah.
But that's also therapy, I will say. That's also, you know what I'm saying? That's also like having a great therapist who is a Black
Yeah.
queer woman who's like, you need to learn to say no.
Yeah.
It's like, got it, got it.
Nice. I love that. I have 10 minutes left. I like to be conscious of our time, right? And so, building off of this conversation, one thing is you said about a Black woman learning how to say no. Why is it so important in this industry, especially when sometimes Black women are pigeonholed into certain things, sometimes they're not given certain opportunities, but still finding the power and the voice to say no at the end of the day, even if it sounds like an opportunity of a lifetime because of the budget, the pay, or we know this could
Yeah,
be, that type of production.
yeah. I mean, I think all Black women tend to overfunction. I think we've done it for generations. I think we give and give and give to our families and our friends, but we hold everybody up. So it's kind of ingrained in us
Mhm.
to give and to nurture and to provide in different ways. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's important for us to learn how to say no moving forward, because we are allowed to do something for ourselves. I
Nice.
think for too long we ride behind other people for too long, and I'm glad to see other Black women being like, no, I'm not going to do this. You know what I'm saying? Like, no is important. My mother is one of my biggest inspirations, but she will tell you yes until her feet are red and blue, and I'm like, girl, sit down. Because if you would have just said no, they would have probably been okay. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? I'm a people pleaser too. Like I said, therapy. But yes, I just it's important. Like everyone else gets to say no, so why can't Black women?
Nice. I love that. That's already a quote I'm thinking about now. That's going to be a quote in this story. Before we end, you talked about you being more than just the actress. You're an artist, you're a person, right? Describe to me if someone said, Mike, please describe Miss Williams as an artist. How would I describe you?
Mm-mm. I'm very sensitive, very delicate, but I'm also very grounded and heavy footed at the same time. There's a fire that comes out of me
Nice.
that I can't control, but in the best way. And there's real passion there. I think there's passion. I think that's who I am as an artist and as a person.
Nice. I love that. Last before we go, what's next for Renika?
What's next for Renika? Well, I want to share what's actually next, and I want to share what I hope.
Like that's what's really next. Not one of those what's next in the next 5 to 10 years. Like, oh, Renika's gonna be on stage on Broadway and doing this and that. No, I'm telling you what y'all should be tuning in at the end of December.
Well, I'm excited to be to play a role in the final season of New Amsterdam on NBC. I think this show is really important. And I'm happy to be a part of that before it's over. But at the same time, what's next for Renika? I hope that Renika is on somebody's big movie screen. Maybe working alongside Shantae Adams, who everybody says she and I resemble each other. I was like, sis, we need to do a movie together. And she's like, yes, we do. So can somebody please cast me and my sister Shantae Adams as sisters? I don't. Maybe she cares what it's about, but I do not. That's what I.
Nice. Well, that's perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time. I enjoyed myself. I always want to make sure the other person enjoyed themselves as well.
Absolutely. This was a fun kiki. I appreciate this.
Thank you.